Contactzilla's Microsoft Entra importer allows you to populate a shared address book from your Microsoft tenant and keep it updated over time. But Entra includes a lot more than just useful contacts with phone numbers. There are also service accounts and disabled users and contacts that are missing phone numbers and so on. So I'm going to show you how to bring in exactly the right contacts into Contactzilla, choose which fields appear on the phones, and filter out any records that you do not want on the devices. So my team is Skyline Development Group, and I have an empty address book here called Skyline Directory. I'm going to click on Import and choose the Entra importer. And if you haven't connected your Microsoft tenant yet, you can follow our separate Entra setup video first, which I've linked in the description. So here I'm choosing the Entra importer, and I'm selecting the Microsoft connection I have already authorized and hitting continue. I'll paste in my Microsoft tenant ID here, which is found in the home section of your Entra admin center. The groups field is optional, but can be a useful first filter. So leave it empty to import every record in your tenant, or choose one or more Entra groups if you only want Contactzilla to import members of those groups. I'll leave this sync interval on manual for now, so that I can choose when I'm going to sync, but once everything is set up, you can choose an interval here to automate it. If you're bringing in contacts from multiple tenants into the same address book, you have the option to label all the contacts on this import, and you can restrict CSV columns here to only bring in the ones that you actually want to map. So I'll click continue, and in the background, Contactzilla is connecting with Entra and will bring us to the mapping screen. So here I can see that we have pulled in 91 rows from Entra. Contactzilla has remembered my previous choices here, but on a first run, these fields would start unmapped. So the job now is to work through each field and decide, should it appear on devices, stay hidden for admins in Contactzilla, or be completely ignored. The ID field is the unique Microsoft Entra ID for each user. So I'm mapping it as a hidden custom unique and calling it MSID, so that Contactzilla can match future updates to the same contact instead of creating duplicates. Because it's hidden, admins can see it in Contactzilla, but it won't appear on the phone. So now I need to work through the rest of these columns, and for a lot of these, you may well be choosing ignore. It's likely you'll want email on the phone, so I've chosen email from the drop-down. Whatever you choose here will be how it is displayed on the phone. So if you want to say a specific thing, you can choose custom, and then give it your preferred label. But this is a test tenant with no email accounts, so I am going to ignore this one. Roles, state, groups, country I will ignore, but we'll come back to groups in just a bit. And surname is going to map to last name. And some more columns I'm ignoring here. And the question is, do I need this to be displayed on the phone? And if not, it gets ignored, or we can use another hidden field, which we'll come on to shortly. So if you have headshots for each user and you want those to show in the Contacts app, then you can map photo URL to avatar, and you can see the links to the avatars are present there. There are companies out there still using faxes. I can safely ignore this one. Entra's given name usually should be mapped to first name. If you need to see more rows, you can also click here to expand them. For department in this test tenant, I do have some useful info here, which I do want on the phones. So I can choose label, and then these departments show up as lists on the phone, which can be a great way to organize things on the device. So I also want to highlight display name. In this tenant, given name and surname are filled in cleanly, so I'm going to use those for first and last name. But in some Microsoft tenants, those fields are inconsistent or blank, while display name is the field that has the full name. So if your display names are formatted a bit like this, Aaron Blake, you can use the first name, last name option. But you may find that they're formatted in this way, Blake Aaron, and in that case, you can use the last name, first name option instead. So mobile number, just choose phone and then mobile. Account enabled tells us whether the Microsoft account is enabled or disabled, and it will come in handy in a minute when we select it for deletion handling, but it can still be ignored as I do not need to see it on the phone. Business phones, another example where a custom label can come in handy. So I'm choosing phone, then custom, and then desk phone is what I want the label to show as on the phone. Some Microsoft fields are useful for admins, but not necessarily useful on the phone. So for user principal name, I'm choosing hidden custom, and I'm going to call it Microsoft UPN. And that keeps it visible in the CZ dashboard without pushing it to the phone. And finally, extension attributes are spare Microsoft Entra fields, which are often blank, but some companies do use them for things like phone extensions, payroll codes, etc. In my case, I'm ignoring all of those. And at the bottom, Contactzilla can also handle deletes, as we've said, and that helps stop leavers or disabled accounts remain in the shared address book. So I will choose yes and use the account enabled field by ticking the box. So I'm going to click continue. And this Entra import is going to run repeatedly depending on the interval I choose. So Contactzilla needs to know how to handle any duplicates that appear. So if Entra should remain the source of truth, replace duplicates will usually be the right choice here, but you can skip them or merge them as well. When I choose replace, I have some extra toggles. You can clear old labels. And the second toggle is useful if this address book should be an exact reflection of the Entra import. If a contact's already in Contactzilla, but no longer appears in the latest import, it will be deleted. So when I hit continue, the importer runs. And I'm told that 4 contacts have been skipped and 1 contact has failed. So I'm going to download the failed and skipped CSV. And here it is. And if I scroll all the way to the right, I can see the reason they were not imported. Either company name or individual name is required. So let's take a look at this contact. And I can see it is Skyline admin account with no given or last name. And I'm happy with this because I do not want this to show on the phone anyway. The 4 skipped records were marked for deletion, and that means those users are disabled in Entra. So the delete handling is working as expected. Now let's have a look at the contacts that were imported by clicking here. And straight away, I can see the labels have been created for the department names. And if I click on a contact, I can see the mobile number has been brought in and the Entra business phone is here with my custom label of desk phone, and my hidden fields are shown here also. If we have a look on the phone, I'm happy that my lists have been created. And if I look at Aaron Blake, things are looking good. None of the hidden fields are showing. But as I scroll through my contact list back in Contactzilla, I can see some entries that should not be there. For example, automation runner looks like an account used for automated processes, not a person. Directory sync service is clearly not a person. And endpoint management service is not a human contact that someone would call. And we see this sometimes in customer imports. Valid Entra records that are not useful for a phone address book. So next, I'm going to go back to our import and tighten it using filters. So I'll click on import, and here is the Entra import we just ran. I need to click setup, clear saved mapping, and then choose sync now in order to get back into that mapping stage. You may need to refresh your browser here and just give this a minute. You should then see requires mapping, and you just click on the window. So we're back at the mapping stage, and let's go through some common filtering examples. Quite often, users only want to bring in contacts that have a mobile number. I'll hit the filter icon on the right, and then the toggle switch, and we are going to use an include filter. These filters are regular expression patterns to decide which rows to keep or remove. Sounds technical, but we have a list of the most common ones here for you to copy. So if I take the match phone number digits one, it adds in the value to match, and Contactzilla will only keep records where the mobile phone field looks like it contains a real phone number. And at the top, I can see that this filter would remove 26 entries. Some non-human accounts will naturally be removed by this mobile number filter, but this can also remove real people who simply do not have a mobile listed, so it might be a bit heavy-handed for you. I'm going to switch it off. Another common filter is to make sure your surname field has something present, which can be another way of weeding out non-human accounts. To do that, I'll choose the surname field and open the filter options. I'm going to choose include once again, and this time I'm going for match non-empty string. So now Contactzilla will only keep records where there is a value in the surname field, and I can see that that is weeding out one entry. Company name can be another useful one. If I only wanted to import users from Skyline Development, I could open the filter option for company name, choose include, and choose match partial name, and swap this value for Skyline. But if I want to be stricter, I can change that to this, which I'm going to paste in. And that caret symbol means the start of the field, and the dollar sign means the end of the field. So now the whole company name has to match exactly. And in my demo tenant, I do not have company name listed for any entries. So you can see that this will take out all of the rows at the top here. So I'm going to remove that. And the last one I'm going to show you is the most useful one for my particular instance, which is to exclude Entra groups that contain non-human accounts. So if I switch over to Entra and have a look at my groups, I can see a few that clearly contain records I do not want on phones. Things like 2FA applications. Let's have a quick look at the members in there. Application accounts, service accounts, shared mailboxes, etc. So back in Contactzilla, I'll go to the groups field, and please note you can still be ignoring this field if you do not want group memberships to show on the devices. The filter will still work. So I'm going to open up the filter options and choose exclude this time. And I'm choosing to match a string in a comma delimited list. So I'm going to replace the placeholder with the group name I want to exclude. And for the multiple groups in one filter, I will use this. And this tells Contactzilla to remove any row where the groups field contains one of those group names. And it's removing 9 rows, which sounds about right. So I'll need to redo my deletion handling at the bottom here, and then I will hit continue, and then replace duplicates again, and toggle on the delete any contacts not replaced this time to make sure that any previous non-human accounts are now deleted. So the 4 inactive accounts were skipped and 1 failed as we expected, but I can see the groups filter that we applied took out 9 records, which is great. And now when I go to the contact list, this all looks very human indeed. So I'm happy with that. I'm ready to go back to my import and set and forget, as they say, by going into settings, and instead of leaving on manual, automating this so it runs every week, for example. So from this point on, Contactzilla is going to keep this address book updated from Microsoft Entra, and it will use the same mapping, filters, deletion handling, and duplicate settings as well that we have just set up.